34 years ago, San Antonio had its first Latino mayor. America now has its first Black president. Today, this is what the City Council in San Antonio, Texas looks like. The council is made up of people from all different walks of life. None of this could have been possible without the man that goes by the name of Willie Velasquez. Latinos were not allowed to vote without a poll tax until the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was passed. Even though Latinos were allowed to vote, they were scared to. Latinos were kept from using their voting rights, much like the blacks were when the Jim Crow laws were in place. Some towns held voting at places that Latinos were not normally allowed. Therefore, they felt intimidated and were ultimately afraid to go vote or felt like their vote didn't matter.
Before he got involved, there wasn't the awareness. Look, the reason you have flooding in your streets is because you're not voting. You need to start registering to vote so you can have an impact on the people that make policy, on the people that are supposed to fix the streets and all that.
Willie grew up in a poor neighborhood on Laurel Street. The streets were not paved, so whenever it rained, it flooded greatly. This was because no one represented them, and so their issues were not resolved. When he was older, he found out that it was because all Latinos were afraid to vote, so their community had no voice, and he wanted to find a way to help.
And it seemed like out of the blue, Willie had applied for a internship with Henry B. Gonzalez to work in Washington, D.C. This was right out of high school, and he was inspired. We saw all these images in the TV of blacks getting beat up because they wanted to vote, and he just really got motivated. And he had worked on John F. Kennedy's campaign in 1960, called Viva Kennedy clubs, and from that age, he just got a fire in him that he wanted to do something at an early age. So right out of high school, that summer he went and he applied, and he came in. I remember coming in home and saying that I got accepted. And to what? To work in Washington, D.C.
In 1967, Willie founded the Mexican American Youth Organization, along with Jose Angel Gutierrez, Juan Patlan, Ignacio Perez, and Mario Campion.
And from there, when he came back from Washington, he met good friends, Jose Gutierrez, Juan Patlan, Nacho Perez, Mario Campion. And while he was still in college, I guess it was his sophomore year, they formed the Mexican American Youth Organization. And their main goal was to change the educational system in San Antonio and in the Valley. And from there, Mayo just exploded because the problems were so widespread and so awful. You know, like in Edgewood, the district we grew up, the superintendent had offered a janitorial service track. You know, because he was saying that's the only thing that these kids are capable of, being janitors and being, labor. And they were being spanked for speaking Spanish and a host of problems. And so they concentrated on problems in the schools.
He also started the Southwest Voter Registration Education Project in 1974. Willie would sit at a card table for hours, calling people with a rotary phone, asking if they had registered to vote yet. He would also visit people's homes, asking if they had registered yet. As a result of this, a lot more Latinos started voting so their voices could be heard.
And I didn't understand what it was. I was just like, oh, I just know I have to get up early and I have to walk a lot. But it wasn't until I got a little bit older that I started appreciating assisting him with the block walks, going door to door. I actually even look forward to doing that because I really wanted people to understand why we needed to register to vote and why we needed to vote.
He had such a commitment that it was infectious. I mean, people felt like, you know, he was honest, he was hardworking, he believed in what he was saying, and people listened and believed, you know, felt comfortable with him and believed what he said.
Because of all his success with the voters in Texas, other states and even foreign countries started asking him to come and help with their elections.
Would call him all the time. We need you in Houston. We had problems in Corpus. We need. They call from New Mexico, Arizona, California, the Midwest, Chicago, Kansas. You know, and he put the team together. They go, and they'd ask him the simple question: "How did you do it?" We had the same problem. You know, 60, 70, 80% Mexican American minority. No people, nobody on the city council, nobody on the county commissioner, no state representatives, no state senators, no representative. And so they'd ask him, how'd you do it? And there's nothing like success. He said, well, this is the way we did it. And they just copied. It was like a blueprint for success, for changing the game. And then not only national, he also went international. And he was asked by President Carter to go to Chile and make sure that there was a fair election there.
On June 15th, 1988, Willie died of kidney cancer.
He had they gave him 2 weeks to live, and during that time, hundreds of elections were happening, and they were calling in, we won, like in Rosenberg, we won, and everybody kept calling, you know, that they were winning, that they had, for the first time, some minority representation.
I think his biggest accomplishment was making Hispanics an important interest group, so that people that run for office want to have Hispanics vote for them.
Well, what I've seen, the impact my father had on Latinos is that we have more congressmen, more senators, we have more Latinos in public office today than we've ever had. We've had, if you see the gap has closed, and hopefully one day we will have the Latino president of the United States someday soon.
No person in modern America who has run for public office, wherever Hispanic Americans live, has failed to feel the hand of Willie Velasquez. He made this a greater country.
In 1995, Bill Clinton awarded the Medal of Freedom to Willie. It is the highest award a civilian can receive. Willie was not alive to personally receive the award, but his family was happy to be there on his behalf.
And being there in the White House to receive that medal for him was a culmination, I think, of saying, you know, Willie, people, you know, I knew you were great all along. We all worked, you know, the people that worked with you, but now the whole country and the world is going to know.
Even after his death, his legacy lives on. Both Southwest Voter Registration Education Project and Mexican American Youth Organization continue today and get more and more Latinos registered. Su voto es su voz. Your vote is your voice. If you want change in the world, you need to express your voice and opinion. On his deathbed, Willie saw into the future with these final words: "Qué bonito mundo nuevo." What a beautiful new world it is.